Hello everybody, this is Zach with Top Deck Nation coming at you today with another deck profile video. Today we have a pretty interesting deck. It's a deck that, it hasn't really seen any play quite yet because it's so new. I mean, looking at the standard format, there really haven't been any standard events. If you look at the last big event this season, it was regionals, which kind of kicked off the season, and it was actually the expanded format. But now, we're straight, we're jumping into cities. A lot of these cities are going to be standard. Hopefully, most of those. Hopefully it'll be a nice mix of both formats. But usually it's going to be the standard format, so the XY on format. And today, the deck we have is going to be Pikachu-EX and Magnezone. So, finally Pikachu got an EX, and wow, it's actually pretty good. So, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, if you're not sure what Magnezone does, but you are familiar with, like, Emboar from Black and White, or Blastoise, the Deluge ability from Boundaries Crossed that won Worlds this past year, you should, be pretty familiar with Magnezone. It basically has the same ability. It has this ability called Magnetic Circuit, and it basically says, as often as you like, you can attach as many lightning energy cards from your hands to one of your Pokemon. So, this is a really good ability. It's cool that Pokemon kind of brought this back. It is a bit more balanced. If it was a fighting type or something, it might be a little imbalanced just because you could use like Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick or Archie's Ace in the Hole. But there's no way to actually get a Stage 2 out extremely quickly like that. So it is a pretty balanced Pokemon. But this ability is why we are playing this card. This is going to let us kind of power up whatever we want. Really spur of the moment, really quickly. It does have a 3 retreat cost, which is kind of high. But we, as you can see, will be showing you a way to kind of get around that in just a minute. And then the Thunder Blast attack, it's not bad. 100 damage for 3 energy, certainly not bad. But, we probably want to keep him sitting on the bench just so our ability is always going to be active throughout the game. But let's go ahead and jump into the star of the deck here, or at least one of the 2 stars. The first one is Pikachu-EX, and wow, that artwork is pretty awesome. I love the lightning around the card border there. But, Pikachu, it's definitely the icon, the mascot of Pokemon, if you will. It's certainly changed over the last 20 years. I remember when I was just, 7 or 8 years old, I got Pokemon Red and Blue version. Pikachu was a really kind of chubby Pokemon. It's kind of fat, honestly. But, it's kind of trimmed down. I guess it's gotten athletic over all the journeys with Ash. But, let's look at Pikachu here. So, at first glance, it looks kind of underwhelming. It's got 130 HP. That's really bad for an EX, actually. That's kind of in the territory of like Jirachi EX with like 90 HP and Shaman EX with 110 HP. But thankfully, in the standard format, really there's not much that is constantly doing that much damage. If you think about it, a lot of them are just kind of short a little bit. Like Mega Manectric, Turbo Volt is doing 110, so that's kind of short of a knockout. Giratina, using its Chaos Will attack with a Muscle Band, it's still just doing 120, so that's also kind of short. Nothing is really hitting that 130. The only thing I can really think of would be like, Tyrantrum. But, otherwise, it's pretty safe from a lot of attacks, unlike the expanded format. But, the first attack we don't really care about so much. Flipping is always kind of bad. It's 30 times the number of heads you flip. But the second attack, Overspark, this is what makes it really good. So it says discard all the lightning energy attached to Pikachu, and then it does 50 times the number of energy on it, or that you discarded. So this is, wow, this is pretty big. So with 4 energy, I'm doing 200 damage. I do have to discard it, but it's actually pretty easy to get that energy back onto Pikachu with that Magnezone. It's also pretty easy to get it out of the discard, as we'll find out in just a minute. But, this can potentially knock out anything in the format. I mean, nothing really has lightning resistance if you think about it. So, for 5 energy, which is pretty easy to do, it's doing 250 damage, which is enough to knock out anything, including Wailord EX. But that's, a sick attack, really strong. It's got metal resistance, so that's good against things like Aegislash EX. And then it only has 1 retreat cost, so very very maneuverable Pokemon. It can kind of get out of the active spot when it needs to. So yeah, this is why this is the main Pokemon in this deck. It's doing just a ton of damage. The attack is very similar to like Magnezone Prime, except you don't have to remove those cards from play. You can actually just put them in your discard, and that way you can get your Lightnings back anytime you want. Alright, so the second star of the deck is going to be Raikou. It's pretty awesome that they are reprinting the legendary dogs. I like seeing that. We do have the Shining Body ability, which says that as long as it has lightning energy attached to it, any damage done to it's actually reduced by 20. So that's a pretty good ability. It's kind of like having like a permanent hard charm on Raikou. So, for example, against like a Lugia-EX, if it uses Aero Ball, even if I have 3 energy on Raikou and they have a Muscle Band, well, normally they would do 120, but with that Shining Body ability, they're actually going to come up short. So, I'm sure a lot of times your opponent might just kind of misread the card effect or just not read it at all, and that kind of works to your favor, I guess. But it does have the Thunder Lance attack, does 50, and then 20 more for each lightning energy on it, so it's very similar to Keldeo-EX from Boundaries Crossed. And that's why you play it. You can just kind of stack a ton of energy on Raikou and take out those massive Pokemon EXs in one hit. You can actually you can also go through things like Regice, that Resistance Blizzard. It's only applied to basics, so Raikou is good against Regice. It's good against a lot of stuff. It can just kind of one-shot those Shaymins if you have a Lysander, so certainly a good card. It's got Metal Resistance, got pretty good HP with 120. It's almost as much as Pikachu-EX, and it's got 1 retreat, so that is why we play Raikou-EX in here. So those are our main attackers. Those are really the guys you're going to be attacking with. As far as draw support here, we have Shaymin. Shaymin, definitely not a newcomer to the metagame here. We have Setup, it lets you draw until you have 6. So this is really what's going to help you get that Magnezone out turn 2. Because if you don't have it out turn 2, you're going to kind of struggle a little bit. I mean, you can keep going to try to get it out, but at that point, your opponent's probably set up. They have the Lysanders and stuff. They're just going to keep going for the Magnemite. So you need to get Shaymin out as quick as possible here with that setup ability, and that's really going to help you get Magnezone out. Alright, and then for additional draw support here, we have a 1-1 Octillery line. So I personally love Octillery for a couple reasons here. First of all, it's level while searchable. It's 90 HP and it's a stage 1. It's not like Delphox or something where you have to play Rare Candy and hope to get it out. No, you can usually get Remoraid out the first turn, and then the second turn you have that Octillery, and then for the rest of the game you have some pretty awesome draw support with that Abyssal Hand ability. So that is why it works. It's so good because if your opponent plays like a Judge on you or an Ace Trainer, I can just play my hand down and just play Octillery for 5 more cards, and chances are I'll probably draw into the energy I need or the VS Seeker or something like that. So Octillery is certainly a good card to have in here, just to kind of sit on the bench and draw cards throughout the game. But yeah, let's go and jump into the supporter count here. We're running a pretty thin supporter line, but I will be explaining that. We play a standard 4 Sycamore, of course. Definitely the best draw support in the format. Unfortunately, with the rotation, we lost a lot of great draw cards. I can only imagine how good this deck would be with like N and Colress. I mean, it would be amazing. Especially that other Magnezone, the one that lets you play 2 supporter cards with that Dual Brains ability. That would be insane. But we don't have that in Standard, unfortunately. So we have 4 Sycamore. We play 1 Birch. Birch is actually decent in here. If I flip heads, I draw 7. If tails, I draw 4. But like I said, I do have that Octillery as well as Shaymin to kind of balance that out if I do happen to draw 4. We play 1 Lysander. If I had another spot in the deck, I would probably play a second Lysander just because I love the card. I don't want it prized. But 1 seems to be working. I've never really had an issue with it. But that's just going to let me get a lot of cheap knockouts. I can Lysander stuff up that's damaged. I can Lysander Shaymins. So quick knockouts that way. And then we also have Fisherman, which is one of my favorite supporters in this deck. Puts 4 basic energy cards from the discard into your hand. So in my testing, this is really what's kind of made the deck work. I'm constantly discarding energy with Pikachu, and then I simply play a VS Seeker and get all that energy back and just keep hitting really, really hard. And you'll find your opponent can't really keep up with an attack that's doing 200 or 250 damage every single turn. So that's why this is really good. So I do recommend it. Very good card. And then lastly, we have Teammates. So Teammates is a a pretty uncommon supporter to play. I mean, I've seen it in like Night March and Vestoquin and things, but Teammates is pretty good here. If you don't have the greatest start in the world, you can let one of your Pokemon get knocked out, and then you can search your deck for up to 2 cards. So in that case, we'll probably get the missing piece of the puzzle. So if I have a rare candy and I already have like a Shaman or something in my hand, I'll probably get a Magnezone and something else. And then likewise, if I have like a Magnezone and something else in my hand, I'm probably going to get a rare candy and maybe like a Shaman or an Ultra Ball to get Shaman or something. So that is why we play it. It's also good just to get Professor's Letters, things like that, energy retrievals. So, whatever you need, Teammates can get it out for you. Alright, and then as far as our items go, that's really what are going to make the deck work also, kind of speed through the deck and draw what we need exactly. We've got 2 energy retrieval. Energy Retrieval lets you put 2 basic energy cards from the discard in your hand. So it's a weaker version of Judge, or I'm sorry, not Judge, but Fisherman. But it is good just because it is an item and I don't have to use my supporter. So this is a pretty good card. You can use it throughout. We play 4 Ultra Balls, so that way we can maximize our chances of drawing our Pokemon. We play 1 Level Ball just because we do play a few things that can be searched out with Level Ball, like Magnemite, Octillery, Remoraid, etc. 2 Professor's Letters, really good card in this deck because not only can I thin my hand down to use with like Shaman and Octillery, but I can search my deck for 2 Lightning Energies anytime and just kind of accelerate the deck even further. 4 Rare Candy is pretty standard since we're playing a Stage 2 line. 4 Trainer's Mail. This is really what's going to kind of compensate for that lack of supporter count. I think Trainer's Mail should be standard for any deck that plays Stage 2s. Mainly because it's just, it's so good. I can draw 4 cards, pick up the rare candy, and I'm good to go without having to, use a supporter quite yet. So that's why this is good. It's also going to get like your VS Seekers when you need them, the Professor's Letters, things like that. We play 4 VS Seeker. That is pretty standard as well, just for consistencies. And lastly, the last 2 items we have here, we have Battle Compressor. This is really good for a couple reasons. I can put energy in the discard and use Fisherman and energy retrieval to get them back. I can thin my deck out so it increases my chances of drawing exactly what I need. And then lastly, I can use it early on to get rid of those supporters that I play, the 1-ubs. So I can battle compress Fisherman, Lysander, and Teammates, and suddenly I've got an additional 4 outs to draw in each of those cards. So that's why Battle Compressor is really good in this deck and kind of makes it work, honestly. And then our last item is going to be Super Rod. So Super Rod's going to let you shuffle energy back in if you have to, but we're mainly going to be using it for Pokemon. So like if Magnezone gets discarded or Shaman gets discarded or something, or Octillery, we can always get those back. And one more I did forget to mention was Floatstone, of course. So 2 Floatstone, just so that if they do happen to Lysander, like your Shaman or Magnezone, you'll be able to get out of that with that free retreat. So that's pretty much the deck, guys. Really good, really consistent. I was actually surprised how fast it was and how good it was after I built it. And we do have 11 lightning energy in here as well. So we have plenty of lightning energy, plenty of outs to drawing into those lightning energies and discarding them. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck. So let's go ahead and jump onto a game that I played on Pokemon Trading Card Game Online earlier. And let's go and check it out and see how it is. Okay guys, looks like we're playing against Hero Zero, so we're going to go ahead and flip to see who goes first. Looks like I lost the coin flip, so my opponent is likely going to go first. Always a strong move to go first here just to get set up. Alright, let's look at my opening hand here. Looks like we do have a pretty decent hand. It's not particularly bad. We do have Raikou. Looks like maybe I can Battle Compressor some supporters or something. I do have a rare candy, so if I can draw into like a Magnemite and a Magnezone, maybe I can just kind of put those down and just kind of pass there. But we're going to have to see what happens here. Alright, so we'll draw a couple cards from the mulligans. We do get a Magnezone, but we don't get the Magnemite, so maybe we can draw into that on our first turn here. But we see a Mewtwo-EX here. It's got the Scatter Shot, which is one of my favorite ones actually, over the Photon Wave. Looks like it could be like a Mega Mewtwo deck, though, and that's something that we might be seeing at Cities. I don't know. It really just kind of depends how the format kind of shifts, but certainly a deck to be on the lookout for. So it looks like it definitely is going to be some sort of Mega Mewtwo deck, and he's going to play Hoopa to use Scoundrel Ring to get those 3 Pokemon out. I did see that Mega Mewtwo Y. and he attaches, and he's probably just gonna have to pass here. Looks like he did use his supporter as Pokemon Fan Club. So we're hoping for the Magnemite, but we didn't get it, unfortunately. So, this hand isn't really that good. I'm going to have to probably get rid of some stuff here and probably end up using something like Professor Birch, because I really don't want to have to Sycamore, a Rare Candy, a Magnezone, all those Sycamores. So I'd rather just kind of thin my deck down to kind of maximize my chances of drawing into some things. Really, I have to get that Magnemite in order to, set up for that turn 2 Magnezone. So I did go ahead and battle compress a few things I didn't need. I'm going to go ahead and use Professor Birch. We're going to flip to see what we get here. Alright, looks like we flip heads, so we will draw 7 cards. And wow, this is a pretty good start, actually. I can go ahead and put down Remoraid and Magnemite. I don't really think my opponent can knock me out next turn, thanks to Raikou's ability. So I'm going to go ahead and Professor's Letter, and at this point, I think I'm just trying to thin my hand down, possibly to get like a Shaman or something like that, and just get as set up as possible here. But I'm actually going to opt to get a second Magnemite, because I know, Mewtwo, this deck is pretty fast. He already has energy on there. If he knocks out my Magnemite, I'm pretty much done for, because that is the strategy of the deck. It just kind of falls apart if you cannot consistently get the Magnezone out, and if you let things get knocked out there. So I'm going to make sure I have 2 Magnemite out at all times. Probably don't want any more than that, but I do want a couple. Looks like he was able to get the Spirit Link and use Psychic Infinity, but thanks to Raikou's attack, he's actually going to be short damage, so that's pretty awesome. I'm going to go ahead and probably attach to Raikou here and get off an attack, and probably just going to VS Secret for Sycamore and play it. I do have a Float Stone in my hand. I can probably put it on like one of the Magnemites just in case it does get Lysandered up or something. And yeah, let's hope for the best. Hopefully we can get that Rare Candy Magnezone and get that turn 2. Alright, wow, first couple cards I saw were Rare Candy Ultra Balls, so, we will be getting that turn 2 Magnezone out. So like I said, this deck is really good, really fast actually. Thanks in part to cards like Shaymin-EX and Trainer's Mail, so certainly pretty good. And I'm really just kind of making a decision at this point. Is it worth it to try to attack with the Pikachu-EX, or should I just kind of hold on to it and go for the Raikou? It's a very tough decision. I don't know what the better play would actually be, but honestly, I think, since Raikou's active, I don't want to waste the energy that's on it, so I'd rather just go ahead and, just pull off an attack here. So I'm just kind of softening up Mewtwo, so that way Pikachu, maybe we can set up Pikachu to sweep. Honestly, Pikachu's kind of like a soft counter to this Mewtwo Y, just because, his Psychic Infinity attack, it's not going to be doing very much damage to me because I have to discard my energy every turn. So, potentially Pikachu can certainly do a ton of damage and maybe even sweep this game here. It's hard to say for sure. But I'm going to go ahead and use the ability here for Magnezone. That magnetic circuit, and I'm going to go ahead and hit for 110. I'm just going to hold on to the energy I already have just in case, like Magnezone or something's Lysandered up, or maybe Remoraid. Don't want to have to give away all the cards I have in my hand. So we'll play that, and he goes, he's got 100 HP left, and he's probably going to go for that knockout there. I did see that he attached to the Mewtwo on the bench, but he's just going to go for a knockout. So it does a whopping 170, so that's pretty awesome for, a Psychic and a DCE. I'm going to go ahead and promote the Pikachu, and at this point, this is where Fisherman becomes really good. I just got 4 Lightning Energy off of there, out of the discard, so I can attach up to 6 energy. That's really crazy. I can do up to 300 damage if I wanted to, but obviously I'm going to hold on to those just so I can pull off another attack next turn. Hopefully after we use Overspark, we can get a couple of prize cards and get maybe a supporter or something. But we do play it, and Mewtwo Y will fall down. It will get knocked out. So we'll take our first 2 prizes of the game. And looks like we'll get a Shaman and a Rare Candy, so not bad. We can thin our hand down and then just use Shaman to draw a few cards. So I think we're in good shape again. So the thing about Mewtwo right here, He can certainly evolve into Mega Mewtwo and attack me, but he's just not doing a lot of damage. And if I somehow manage to get enough energy to knock out Mewtwo, he's going to be stuck in a corner where he can't really attack one turn. So I think he's just going to go for the attack regardless. It's going to be doing 10 plus 30 plus 30. He's actually going to go for the Magnezone, but keep in mind, I did put a Float Stone on Magnezone for that reason, so I'll be able to retreat out of there. Wow, this is a really good hand. I get a rare candy and a Magnezone, so I'll be able to get a second Magnezone out just to kind of make sure my board position is pretty, solidified. Let's go ahead and Magnetic Circuit 3 energy to Pikachu. And then after those are on there, I can go ahead and Shaman set up for 5 more cards without having to use a supporter quite yet. So really, we need 2 more energy to knock out this Mewtwo. Right, so I'm just going to go ahead and play Shaman. And we'll set up to draw 5 cards. We're looking for 2 energy. Looks like we did kind of whiff it. But I'm going to go ahead and level ball for the Octillery just for extra jaw support if I get judged or ace trainered or something. Keep in mind, though, I do have a VS Seeker, and that will let me get Fisherman again, so that's why Fisherman is so good in this deck. I basically just drew into 4 more energy I can play. So we go ahead and play Fisherman, we get our 4 cards. We'll go ahead and power up Pikachu-EX, just put a couple energy on there. So Pikachu's doing 250 damage, so that little lightning mouse is certainly holding its own in this matchup here. It's crazy good. Let's go ahead and power it up, and we will Overspark for the knockout. And at this point, I don't think our opponent can really respond back because, that Mewtwo needs another energy on it. I guess if it has Dimension Valley or something, he can attack for 1 energy, but, still, he's not doing quite enough damage to knock me out. So, the only thing that can really set us back here is maybe like a Hex Maniac or, something like that, but we're going to see him use a Judge, so that's going to thin our hand down. But we do have Octillery, and his ability can certainly come in handy here if need be. Okay, so we're just kind of waiting on our opponent to see what happens here. He's going to need a Spirit Link to evolve an attack, but he chooses just to Mega Evolve, so this is going to give us a huge opening to actually win the game. Wow, what a top deck here. We get a VS Seeker, so that's 4 out of the 5 energies. So in other words, if we can get 1 more energy, we can win this game. So Pikachu essentially kind of swept here. It's taken 2 knockouts already. Can it get the 3rd knockout? So I'm going to go ahead and Trainer's Mail to kind of thin out my deck here. I get a Battle Compressor, so that's really going to help thin my deck out. I'm going to play it just to increase my chances of drawing into the Lightning Energy. So I just need to discard 3 cards that I don't really need right now. Lysander, it looks like, would be a good choice. Possibly that Magnezone, just because I have 2 of those out already. And then, it doesn't really matter at this point, I guess. Maybe Pikachu. I think there's already a Raikou in my hand, so I'm going to go with the Raikou. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and Ultra Ball. I do have another Shaman in the deck to play, so that's going to let me draw 5 more cards. So if we get a Lightning out of here, we do win the match here. So let's go ahead and play Shaman and set up, looking for a Lightning, and there we go. First card is a Lightning, so I will be able to win this game. I'll go ahead and VS Seeker, get the Fisherman, play Fisherman to get 4 Lightnings out of my discard, and that's going to put the total in my hand up to 6. So I can do up to 300 damage if I want to. I'm going to go ahead and just Magnetic Circuit the energy on Pikachu. And yeah, folks, that will be game. That's, pretty crazy how Pikachu was able to just kind of sweep that game. But as you can see, that Overspark attack in this format, it's really powerful because, it's essentially taking anything down in a single blow before anything can actually knock out Pikachu. So that is pretty crazy. Not to mention that it's just really hard to do a ton of damage to knock out Pikachu in one blow. But there we go. So we will take the victory there. Looks like one of my Magnemite was prized, but that's okay. Wow, Pikachu pretty much swept the game there, guys. Raikou did soften up the Mewtwo, but definitely Pikachu was the MVP. It did a lot of damage. I didn't check out the stats, but I'm sure it did a ton of damage there. But yeah, feel free to go back at the list. Change it to your liking. It's certainly what those skeleton lists are there for, you guys. But, let me know in the comments what kind of deck you want to see me make next. I'll certainly do that for you guys. And be sure to check out the website topdecknation.com. Everything is free. I believe in that free model. We have free articles on there, deck profile videos, things like that. We also have a pretty awesome card database with every set ever made, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, that's the deck profile video for Pikachu-EX. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like our Facebook page. I'll certainly have more videos for you in the future, but this has been Zach with Top Deck Nation, and I will catch you guys in the next one.